Revealed, how one incredible woman's touching act transformed a billionaire's life in 30 days. In the heart of a quaint Midwestern town, a wave of warmth and sweetness radiated from Sarah's bakery. The aroma of freshly baked bread danced through the air, wrapping around passers-by like a cozy embrace. Sarah, a dedicated single mother in her late 30s, poured her heart into every loaf and pastry. Each swirl of caramel and crumble of her famous apple pie told a story of hard work and resilience, qualities she was instilling in her two children. She was living the American dream, but some days, it felt just a breath away. Meanwhile, Mark, a billionaire tech entrepreneur, rolled into town with a cloud of arrogance around him. He had everything: money, power, and prestige, yet felt an emptiness gnawing at him. Mark dismissed the little town and its people as if they were mere background actors in the life he was used to. Behind his sleek suits and sharp tech innovations, loneliness lingered. Then came a chilly Friday evening when the local church held its community fundraiser. Dishes from near and far adorned the tables. Sarah's caramel apple pie, a treasured family recipe, shining under the incandescent lights, caught the eye of many. As the crowds gathered, Mark's friend dragged him into the event. Hesitant, he sampled Sarah's pie. A wave of flavors washed over him, igniting something he had long forgotten: joy. In that moment, he was captivated, not just by the taste but by the warmth of the community that surrounded Sarah. When she casually invited Mark to try her homemade soup after the event, it felt like fate. Laughter bubbled between them as they shared stories, swapping aspirations and dreams. To Sarah, Mark was just a fellow human, while he was surprised by her kindness and authenticity. A flicker of connection sparked. The first time in years he felt seen and understood, but whispers of discontent began to brew. Mark's status as an outsider in this tight-knit community threatened their budding friendship. Local leaders eyed him warily, doubting his intentions, fearing he was just another wealthy intruder. The atmosphere thickened with tension. Then Sarah, with unwavering courage, boldly defended Mark. "We are more than our wallets," she cried. "It's our character and the bonds we form that truly matter." With her words, the crowd murmured. Hope mingled with disbelief, igniting a debate. Was wealth truly a measure of a person's worth? Sarah's passionate plea resonated deeply, and for the first time, Mark felt the pressure of his privileges weighing upon him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Amidst the fervor, Mark felt something shift. Sarah's spirit was a beacon, showing him what he had been missing: connection, community, care. He began to dream of investing in this town that had begun to weave itself into his heart. Just as hope blossomed, news swept through town that could devastate Sarah's bakery and threaten the fragile ties they had started to form. An unexpected offer poured in for his tech company, one that could shatter everything. Would Mark choose the comfort of his capitalist world or embrace Sarah's vision of kindness and community? The choice loomed large, leaving a chill in the air as onlookers held their breath, hearts racing for what was to come. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Mark sat in his car a few blocks from the bakery, staring at the familiar brick building. The smell of Sarah's cookies still lingered in his memory, a tantalizing reminder of warmth and belonging that he had craved for so long. Decision. It swirled in his mind like a tempest. He had never envisioned himself in this place, championing a cause or rallying for something bigger than himself. Yet, the thought of losing it all, the sense of community, the laughter, Sarah, hit him like a punch to the gut. The offer that had come in for his company was monumental. Generational wealth, they said. A chance to soar higher than he ever thought possible. Yet, another part of him screamed for something different, something more. What good was all that money if it meant standing alone on the summit of success, looking down at the lives of those he could have touched. He had tasted Sarah's pie, and now he was hungry for real connections. Just do it, he whispered to himself, gripping the steering wheel as though his resolve could direct him forward. But doubt crept in. He thought of the community's pained expressions when they learned of his company's sale, the anxious murmurs about an outsider swooping in and dismantling what made their town special. Was he prepared to break their trust? Inside the bakery, Sarah was wrapping orders, a smile on her face as she laughed with a customer. Her warmth lit up the room. He had seen how her passion influenced others, weaving them together, creating bonds that flourished through shared meals and laughter. What if, instead, he became the villain in their story? The thought made his stomach clench. He took a deep breath and stepped out of the car, the chill of the evening air nipping at his skin. The bell rang as he entered the bakery, and for a brief moment, time stopped. Conversations paused, and all eyes turned toward him. "Mark!" Sarah exclaimed, her smile brightening the room. She clearly hadn't expected him. "Come to help out?" He hesitated, his mouth suddenly dry. "I need to talk to you." The atmosphere shifted. Whispers rippled through the crowd, curiosity piqued. "Okay," she replied, her voice steady, sensing the weight of his words. "What's on your mind?" Mark cleared his throat, the tension wrapping tightly around him. "I've been given this big offer for my company. I could have everything. But I've been thinking a lot about what we talked about at the fundraiser, about community, trust. I'm torn." Sarah's brow furrowed a little, processing the flood of emotion in his eyes. Around them, the town folks continued to watch, eyes wide, holding their breaths. "Is it just about the money?" she asked softly, moving closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "No," he admitted, voicing the truth he had tried to avoid. "It's about being part of something meaningful. I want to invest in this community, in your bakery. I don't want to leave, but I don't know if they will accept me." A hush fell over the room. Everyone leaned in slightly, as if drawn by the gravity of the moment. Mark met Sarah's gaze, searching for affirmation. "Then show them," she said. "Show them you're here to stay." With her simple words, hope ignited again within him. The battle inside still raged on, but Sarah had offered him a lifeline. Maybe he could find a way to bring both worlds together to create an opportunity that uplifted everyone. "Mark?" Someone in the crowd finally spoke up. "What's your plan?" He exhaled slowly, finally grasping the strands of clarity among the chaos. "I want to transform the town with innovation and heart. Together. Shall we? Will you stand with me?" The room exploded with murmurs, excitement mingling with apprehension. Sarah's encouraging smile pushed him forward into the unknown. Yet, a part of him lingered in fear. Could a man like him really forge bonds with a town that had every right to distrust him? As everyone waited for his next move, Mark felt the stakes elevate. Hearts hung in the balance. Just then, an old man at the back raised a weathered hand. "Prove it," he called out. "Show us you're more than your money." The challenge hung in the air like a dare. Mark swallowed hard, feeling the eyes of the entire community set upon him. In that moment, he could feel their challenges and hopes intertwining. This was it. The path ahead could shape everything. Would he rise to meet their expectations or falter under the weight of his past? The choices he made next could either cement his place in the town or tear it all apart. With uncertainty dancing in his chest, he stepped boldly to the front, ready to declare his intentions. But could he truly find a way to balance his ambitions with the needs of the people? It was time to step beyond the walls of his own making, and he wasn't sure what waited for him on the other side. Mark's heart raced as he faced the expectant gazes of the townspeople. The old man's challenge echoed in his ears, sharp and demanding. "Prove it," he had said. The words were simple, yet they hung heavy in the air, a call to authenticity that felt overwhelming. "We need a plan," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "But first, I want to listen. I want to know what this community needs." He scanned the crowd, trying to gauge their reactions. The tension was palpable, yet a flicker of hope shone in some of their eyes. Sarah stepped closer, her presence calming. "That's a great start. We have ideas, dreams, things we want to change. But we also have fears. You need to hear them all if you want to build trust." Mark nodded, grateful for her guidance. "Then let us do it. Let us have a town meeting. I want to hear your dreams, your worries, your expectations. If I'm going to be part of this community, I want to be all in." The murmurs resumed, and he caught glimpses of hesitant smiles. Maybe, just maybe, he could pierce through the uncertainty. With determination, he continued, "I'm willing to invest my time, my resources, in ways that benefit us all. We can start a community garden, a skill-sharing workshop, anything you believe will strengthen our ties." "What if it all goes wrong?" a voice from the back asked. Skepticism laced the words. It came from a woman with creased brows and tired eyes. He met her gaze. "If it does, I promise to take responsibility. I want us to be partners, not just business and customers, but a family." The crowd shifted slightly, the seeds of curiosity and cautious optimism sprouting. He could almost feel the air change as they began to consider the possibility. "Family," Sarah echoed softly, her voice like a bomb. "That's what it takes, Mark. You have to show them your heart." "Then I'll show you," he insisted. "I'll roll up my sleeves and work beside you. I'll be the first to plant a seed in that garden." A chuckle broke the tension, and even the woman who questioned him cracked a small smile. The energy in the room lightened just a fraction. Then a young man with bright eyes spoke up. "What if we hold a festival? We could showcase local talent, businesses, food, make it a day to celebrate our community." Laughter and ideas began to flow. Mark felt encouraged as voices began to rise in excitement, planning swirling around him like autumn leaves in a brisk wind. He could see them coming together, their hopes merging into something tangible, yet despite the evolving atmosphere, Mark felt a weight settle on his shoulders. He had proposed an idea, but the execution would demand immense effort and vulnerability. Would they truly trust him to bring it to life? Just as the mood soared with enthusiasm, a shadow loomed over his thoughts. What if it's still isn't enough? What if they still don't want me? Sarah placed a reassuring hand on his back, grounding him as he wrestled with his doubts. "It's not about perfection, Mark. It's about showing you care, being present. That will matter more than anything." He looked around at the crowd, their faces beaming with hope yet tinged with caution. The uncertainty remained, but so did a willingness to take a chance. Together, they could be more. "Then let's set a date. I'll be here, ready to listen and learn. I'm in this as long as you are." As he spoke, the room erupted in a buzz of planning, ideas sizzling in the cool evening air. Mark couldn't help but feel a flicker of joy, a sense that something crucial was shifting. Yet, in the back of his mind, the question lingered, would everyone truly embrace him, or would his past set them against him? Mark took a breath, willing to bridge the distance that still lay between him and the community he desired to belong to. Just then, the old man called out again, summoning thoughts of doubt. "Words are easy, Mark. We want results. Actions speak louder." The energy in the room dipped, and the question lingered, ripe with challenge. Mark clenched his fists, feeling the weight of the moment. He knew he had to act. But what would be his first step in this unfamiliar role, and how could he ensure it would resonate with their hearts? With the crowd buzzing around him, Mark realized this was just the beginning. But behind the excitement lay a looming truth that could unravel everything. How far was he willing to go to earn their trust, and what would it really cost him? Mark felt a sudden heat rush to his cheeks as the old man's challenge sliced through the hopeful chatter that had just ensued. He was all too aware of the weight of that remark, the scrutiny of every gaze in the room. How could he turn the tide and show them that he was more than just talk? That he could turn their dreams into reality? All right, Mark declared, pushing aside his growing anxiety. Let us start small. He recalled a vibrant space next to the community center, a patch of forgotten land, overgrown and neglected. What if we clean up that lot? We can clear the weeds, plant some flowers, maybe even set up a few benches. It wouldn't take much, and we could all do it together. A murmur of interest passed through the crowd. The woman who had doubted him earlier leaned forward, her interest piqued. Finding a community space everyone can enjoy that could be something, she said, the weight of skepticism fading as curiosity lit up her expression. Yes. Another person shouted, prompting the crowd to rally. We can all pitch in. It feels good to be part of something. Mark felt a surge of encouragement. He could almost picture it, the laughter and chatter, neighbors working side by side, sharing stories while they transformed that forgotten corner into something beautiful. Maybe this was indeed a step towards earning their trust. Sarah, always attuned to the vibe, smiled broadly. And we'll need tools. We could ask the local hardware store for donations. They might be interested in making a connection. Great idea. Mark replied. We can flyer the town and get everyone involved. It might spark interest in the festival too, don't you think? Excitement filled the air as ideas bounced around like ping-pong balls. Some folks were envisioning murals, others shared favorite flower varieties, and laughter echoed as they debated which old tools could still make a comeback. Each word breathed life into Mark's determination. The past might loom ominously behind him, but perhaps he could carve out a new message, a testament to his commitment and dedication. But, as the buzz continued, flashes of doubt nagged at him. What if the excitement faded? What if he organized everything, the event fizzled out, and the same doubts resurfaced he had come to dread? Mark. A bright-eyed girl called from the back, her voice carrying clarity. What about the water? If we plant a garden, how will we make sure it doesn't die? I'll handle that. He replied, his own resolve forming like steel in his chest. I'll figure it out. I'll be right there with you every step of the way. The resounding laughter that followed felt like a sweet promise. There was a creeping realization that maybe he wasn't just selling a dream, he was living it, row by row, seed by seed. Just then, another voice chimed in. What if we start a weekly potluck? Share food while we work? That way, we break bread and build community. Exactly. Mark echoed, his heart racing. Those were the kind of moments that turn strangers into family, and that was exactly what he needed to feel woven into the fabric of their lives. As the crowd buzzed with joy, Mark felt a spark of something deep within him, igniting every hope he carried. The trust he desperately sought was beginning to take root, growing stronger with every laugh and every plan. But would it be enough to confront the tug of his past that clawed at him mercilessly? He took a deep breath, ready to absorb the joy around him, but the old man's voice lingered in the back of his mind. You still need to prove it, boy. Was he ready for whatever the next step required? And what if his past came knocking just as he found a way forward? As he looked out over the faces before him, Mark realized that this was more than a project, it was a lifeline, one that might redefine them all. What would he unveil in the shadows of his history, and would the community stand strong with him, or would he be left exposed in the wake of his unspoken truths? The next morning, a crisp sun filtered through the dusty windows of Mark's small apartment, illuminating the photographs strewn across the table. Images of times gone by, of laughter and companionship, mixed with darker memories that seeped like unwanted ink into his thoughts. He shook his head, trying to dispel the weight of the past as he scribbled notes for the upcoming community meeting, the pressure still gnawing at his gut. Today was the day he would present the plan to transform the lot, and he could feel the excitement pulse beneath his skin. He took a deep breath and focused on the task at hand, imagining the vibrant flowers bursting forth and the smell of freshly turned earth, drowning out his fear. At the community center, as people trickled in, Mark's heart raced. He could hear laughter echoing in the hall, a testament to the excitement he wished to harness. Yet, with each face that appeared, the shadow of doubt loomed larger. Were they really here for him, or simply caught up in the moment? "Hey, Mark!" A voice called out, slicing through his uncertainty. It was Sarah, her energy infectious as she rushed over, clutching a box of flyers. "Look at this. I printed these up for the potluck. We're really doing this." With the corner of his mouth twitching into a smile, Mark observed the excitement in her eyes. "Thanks. You've been incredible. The potluck is going to be amazing." The room filled with chatter as more neighbors arrived, sharing food containers and jokes. Mark stood slightly apart, taking in the warm atmosphere. Then he spotted the woman who had questioned his capabilities during their last meeting. She was handing out sandwich wraps, her earlier skepticism giving way to a soft smile. "Mark, I hope you know I was just challenging you," she said, sincerity coloring her tone. "I want to be part of this." In that moment, he realized that community could be tricky. It took time, and it required risk. Mark returned her smile, feeling a slender thread of trust weave through the air. Yet, as he stepped forward to address the group, butterflies danced wildly in his stomach. He couldn't ignore the flicker of memories behind his eyes, a past laced with failure, rejection, and regret. If they only knew the truth. "Everyone!" Mark called out, his voice steady despite the whirlwind inside him. "Thank you so much for coming. Today, we embark on transforming not just this lot but our community." Cheers erupted, and the room buzzed with happiness. He presented the vision for the space, illustrating how people could create something joyful together. As he spoke, he could see their excitement mirror his own hopes, but the moment was fleeting. Just as he concluded with the plan for a planting day, a heavy silence fell when a neighbor raised her hand. "What about the funding? These things can get costly." An uncomfortable tension flickered like candlelight in the crowd, a reminder of how quickly dreams could dim in the face of reality. Mark's heart sank, every ounce of confidence slipping from his grasp. "I'll figure it out," he declared, but the fragile courage felt that much more fragile. Then, as if sensing his struggle, Sarah chimed in. "We can do a fundraiser. Let us showcase local talent, a bake sale, a concert, anything to rally support." The mood lifted instantly. Mark felt relief wash over him, but alongside it, a creeping sense of dread. What would happen if he couldn't pull it off? What if he let them down, and then the doubt crept back in? How could he invite everyone to invest in something that might fail? What if his failures became the very thing that jeopardized their collective dream? Mark stood at a crossroads, tension coiling within him. Would he find the strength to face the ghosts that whispered his doubts? Could he lean on the very community he yearned to connect with, or risk revealing what he'd rather leave buried? As he looked into the faces of those who had begun to place their hopes in him, he felt the burden of their trust. Was he really ready to lift the veil on his truths? Instinctively, a glance out the window caught his eye, and he noticed an old man on the street watching. The intrigue flickered in the man's gaze, an echo of challenge, and suddenly, Mark knew that this journey was just beginning, but at what cost? The fog of his past waited just beyond the horizon. Would it rise up to meet him when he least expected it, or could he exorcise those demons forever? Mark's heart pounded as the cheers from the crowd faded, replaced by a buzzing anticipation. He felt the weight of questions pressing against his chest, constricting like a vice. The idea of letting others down began chipping away at his resolve. Could he really breathe life into this plan when shadows from his past lingered just outside his reach? "Okay, everyone, let us split into groups and brainstorm ideas for the fundraiser." Sarah's enthusiasm sliced through the tension. "We can gather everything we need to make this happen together." People began to scatter, excited chatter mingling with laughter. But beyond that joyous atmosphere, Mark felt himself drawn back into the abyss of self-doubt that loomed over him. The old man outside had faded from his mind, yet he felt a chill, as if the specter of his past was watching, waiting for him to falter. Glancing at Sarah as she animatedly huddled with several neighbors, he felt a flicker of warmth. She had become his anchor, lifting him just when the grip of fear threatened to pull him under. He stepped towards her, determined to gather his thoughts. "Hey, Sarah," he began, his voice unsteady. "What if we don't get enough support? What if this whole thing just falls apart?" Her smile faltered for just a moment, but then it returned, brighter. "Mark, it's going to be okay. We're a community. There are so many people who want to help. You've inspired them. And inspiration breeds action. You have to trust in that, trust in them and yourself." He wanted to believe her. The confidence in her words sent a spark of hope coursing through him, but doubt still danced at the edge of his thoughts. He couldn't shake the feeling of being unworthy of the community's trust. "Can I really lead this? It feels so a bit risky," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Nothing worth having comes without risk," Sarah replied, her eyes earnest as she gestured toward the groups forming around them. "Look at everyone. They're excited to be a part of something bigger. You have what it takes, but you need to let go of the past. This is your chance to start fresh." Mark looked around the room, absorbing the energy surging like a wave. There were people laughing, gesticulating with passionate ideas, committed to helping. What if he could let this be the moment he brushed off his old failures and seized a new beginning? He took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of hope mixed with apprehension. Could he let go? What if this was all just wishful thinking? Sarah nudged him lightly. "See, Mon. Let us get to work. We'll find a rhythm together." As she pulled him towards the nearest group, he managed a small smile, feeling a flicker of fire ignite inside. Maybe she was right. Maybe he wasn't alone in this after all. Just then, a voice cut through the noise, a male neighbor at the corner of the room, a hard expression clouding his face. "Mark, do you really think we can pull this off? You seemed uncertain when discussing funding. What's your plan?" Tension gripped Mark once more, the room quieting as all eyes shifted to him. The trust they had shown now felt like a spotlight, and the shadows of his insecurities loomed large. We're going to brainstorm ideas today. And we'll get back to funding if it's needed," he attempted to reassure everyone, but the wavering quality of his voice betrayed him. The neighbor narrowed his eyes, and Mark noticed skepticism ripple through the group. He could feel his heart racing, the chill of doubt returning. What if he didn't have an answer? "Look, I get that there are questions," he continued, though his voice sounded shaky to his own ears. "But we have to start somewhere. I'll make sure to figure this out. All of us are in this together, right?" The energy shifted again, and he sensed a palpable connection as the group's expressions softened. Yet deep inside, he felt that swirling vortex of past failures. Was he really equipped to lead this? Would he stumble under the weight of their expectations? As the chatter began to resurrect around him, Mark took a step back, his gaze wandering to that old man on the street who now stood under a grand maple tree, observing with intent. What if that man held the key to unlocking the truth of his past? Mark's heart raced with questions once more. Would he finally confront those shadows, or remain on the precipice of change? Each day seemed to hold the possibility of both destruction and redemption. As the community began to pull ideas together, he felt the familiar urge to retreat, but Sarah's hand on his arm held him in place. "Trust," she whispered, a mantra woven with belief and strength. In that moment, Mark understood change meant sacrifice. But how much of his past was he willing to leave behind to step into this future? And what if, just beyond the horizon, lay a path he'd never even considered? Mark took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of Sarah's support seep through him. He could still feel the skepticism in the air, heavy and tangible, as if it were clinging to his clothes. But glancing around at the faces of those gathered, he saw a mixture of hope and determination. Their willingness to step into the unknown alongside him ignited a flicker of courage that he desperately needed. "Okay, let us get started." He raised his voice a bit more confidently, channeling Sarah's energy. We each have ideas, and together we can find ways to make this fundraiser not just a success, but something that really brings our community together. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room, and Mark felt the weight on his shoulders lessening slightly with every nod he received. He made his way to a whiteboard, grasping a marker tightly in his hand as if it was a lifeline. Let's brainstorm. What kind of events can we host? He began writing down suggestions, but found his thoughts tangled up in self-doubt. Each stroke of the marker felt like a stab of vulnerability. He had a vision, but could he articulate it? Why don't we have a bake sale? I can get my sister to donate cupcakes. Chimed in a woman from the back. Yes. And we could organize a garage sale too, another neighbor added, the excitement in her voice infectious. Mark's heart leapt. Ideas were flowing, and he felt the room pulse with creativity. Each person seemed eager to take ownership of a part of the project, imbuing Mark with a sense of purpose. Great! You all are amazing! He exclaimed, genuinely thrilled. His voice rang with newfound confidence as he noted their suggestions. Piece by piece, the fundraiser began to take shape: a book fair, a community picnic, even a talent show. Yet, amidst the encouragement and energy, a shadow flickered across his mind. He felt the old man from the street lurking again, the parallel weight of unresolved issues nagging at him. Why was he so terrified of failing? As they continued, Mark caught sight of Sarah across the room. She was encouraging others with her radiant smile, and for a second, their eyes met. In that brief moment, everything else faded: the old man, the fears, the doubts. It was as if Sarah was silently reminding him that this was about more than just him. It was about community, it was about connection. Okay, everyone. Mark said, snapping back to focus. Let's decide who's taking the lead on each event. That way, we all have our roles to play. Names started rolling out, ideas sparking enthusiasm as groups formed around different plans. For the first time, he felt like he was in control, steering the ship rather than drifting aimlessly. But just as the energy peaked, a hesitance gripped his throat. And how do we get support in terms of funding? He asked, the question stealing some of the momentum. The air thickened, and he felt all their gazes snapping back to him, curious and expectant. I mean, we could try local businesses, a voice offered tentatively. Yes. We should. Mark nodded quickly, but the weight of doubt crept in again. But it's not just donations. I still need a clearer plan. Don't worry, Mark. You'll get it sorted, Sarah assured him, squeezing his arm gently. You're not in this alone. He swallowed hard as he fought against the storm within. Right. I don't want to let anyone down. As the group began to finalize their ideas and responsibilities, he drifted into thought. Could he lean on them? Did allowing himself to open up mean he was abandoning his fears? In that moment, a child's laughter erupted from the back of the room, breaking through his solemn reflection. Mark turned, only to find the old man from the street sitting in a corner, an unexpected smile on his weathered face, watching the vibrant interactions. Mark felt a tremor in his heart. What was this man thinking? Did he see the struggle within, or was he simply witnessing hope manifesting before him? Suddenly, a realization hit Mark. Perhaps this was the moment he needed to reconcile with his past. Sarah, Mark whispered, nudging her gently. I have to talk to that man. I think he might have something important to share. As they both moved toward the old man, anticipation tinged with fear bubbled in Mark's chest. What secrets lay buried? Would encountering his past lead to healing or deepen the wounds that still stung? Mark felt a blend of hope and trepidation. He was on the edge of a significant revelation. Would this meeting transform him, or would it leave him feeling even more lost? Mark approached the old man with a mix of courage and uncertainty. As he got closer, he noticed the deep lines etched into the man's face, each one telling a story of its own. The old man's eyes flickered with warmth, and Mark felt an unexpected urge to connect. "Hi there," Mark began, his voice a little shaky. "I'm Mark. I couldn't help but notice you've been observing us." The old man chuckled softly, the sound crinkling his features into a smile. "I've seen many things in my life, son. There's something special about folks coming together like this." Mark nodded, his heart racing. "We're trying to organize a fundraiser to support the community, but I find myself struggling with everything," he admitted, feeling the weight of vulnerability wash over him. The old man leaned back, studying Mark intently. "A human heart is a complex thing. It can both lift us up and hold us back." Mark found himself caught in the man's gaze, the gentleness interwoven with a clarity that was hard to ignore. "You can see that I'm scared, can't you?" "I can see a man hungry for change," the old man replied, his voice steady like a soulful melody. "What are you afraid of losing?" Mark hesitated. "I'm afraid of failing, of letting everyone down. This isn't just about me. It's about everyone here." The old man nodded knowingly. "And what if the fear of failure is part of your journey toward healing? What if each stumble teaches you something valuable?" It struck Mark that the old man might be more than just a bystander, he was a guide in the chaos that wrapped around him. "Have you ever felt that way?" Mark asked, his curiosity bridging the gap between their generations. "Every day of my life. But I've learned that failure doesn't define me, it's the resilience in facing it that shapes who I am." He took a deep breath. "I spent years watching the world from the sidelines, too scared to jump in. But I realized I had stories to share, lessons to teach." The old man's words resonated deep within Mark. He felt a flicker of truth emerge from the shadows of doubt. "What do you think I should do?" "Start with honesty. Share how you feel with your community. You may attract more support than you think." The old man paused, eyes gleaming with wisdom. "And remember, it's okay to ask for help." Mark's heart raced as the newfound clarity dawned on him. "You're right. I need to talk to them to share my fear." As he turned to face the group, he felt the tremors of anticipation ripple through him. Would they still believe in him? Would they stand with him despite his doubts? "Hey everyone!" Mark called out, his voice breaking through the whispers. The room fell silent, all eyes on him. "I just want to be honest for a moment. I'm scared I won't meet your expectations or let you down. But I realize I can't navigate this alone." Sarah's encouraging smile gave him the strength to continue. "I need your help to make this happen. I can't do it without you." The reaction was immediate. Supportive nods and murmurs of encouragement began to flood the space, filling the air with strength. Unity. Somehow, it felt like a turning point. "Mark, we're in this together," someone shouted from the back. A fire ignited among the group, embers of shared determination lighting up the room, but as momentum built, a sudden flicker of doubt gnawed at Mark. Was he truly prepared to share the deeper fears bottled up inside him? Would his honesty push the very people he needed away, or draw them closer? At that moment, the old man's voice echoed in his mind. "Open your heart, Mark. Transform your fear into strength." As he looked around at the supportive faces, a new wave of certainty washed over him. He could feel the layers of support weaving around him like a protective blanket. "Thank you all. I won't let you down," he declared, a newfound conviction lighting up his words. Yet, the shadows of uncertainty lingered. What awaited him next? Could sharing his vulnerabilities open a gateway to deeper connections, or would it plunge him further into doubt than ever before? With his heart racing, Mark took a breath, ready for the next challenge. How far could this path of honesty and vulnerability take him? The atmosphere in the room buzzed with an electric energy. Mark's heart thudded against his chest as he stood before his friends and neighbors, their faces reflecting a mixture of concern and determination. He could feel the weight of their expectations pressing in, but the old man's words echoed in his mind, "Open your heart." Taking a deep breath, Mark decided to dig deeper. "I've been carrying a lot of fear. I didn't even know I had it until now. Fear of not being good enough, of not being able to fix things, and the truth is, I don't have all the answers." As he spoke, he could see Sarah nodding, her eyes unwaveringly on him. Her faith in him ignited the courage he needed. "It's like I've been standing at the edge of a cliff, paralyzed. The thought of falling holds me back, but maybe it's time to take the leap." The words spilled out, almost more powerful than he expected. Silence fell over the room, thickening in the air. Then a voice broke through, soft and genuine. "Mark, we've all been there. Maybe not in the same way, but we understand. We support you." Nods and murmurs of agreement spread like wildfire among the crowd. Mark felt the chasm in his stomach lessen, a feeling of unity building like a wave around him. Another voice chimed in, "We know it's tough to ask for help, but that's where real strength lies. Lean on us. We'll figure it out together." He smiled, the warmth in the room wrapping around him. "Thank you. I guess I never knew how much I needed this. I've kept everything bottled up, thinking I had to shoulder it alone." The old man's presence was a quiet yet powerful reminder of why he started this journey. Mark turned to him, meeting the wise gaze. "You were right. Connection brings strength. I can feel it." As the group began to chat amongst themselves, exchanging ideas and solutions, Mark felt lighter. He became aware of the stories shared, the fears expressed. Threads of vulnerability wove through the crowd, weaving their lives together. The fear that had felt so isolating now transformed into a collective strength. "Let us put our heads together," Sarah suggested, her voice practical yet encouraging. Mark nodded eagerly, feeling the excitement build. They began brainstorming ideas for the fundraiser, enthusiasm ebbing and flowing, building momentum. Ideas flew across the room like fireflies on a summer night: bake sales, charity walks, community events. Each suggestion lit up their spirits, but as they fleshed out their plans, a nagging worry flickered in Mark's mind. What if things didn't go as planned? What if they worked so hard, only to come up short? The fear of potential disappointment began to seep back in, shadowing the excitement. Just as he was about to voice his concerns, the old man stood, his frail hands raising for attention. "Sometimes, the fear of failure is an echo of history, not a prediction. Look, Mark, you've embraced a connection, let that guide you. Failure can be a moment, not a destiny." Mark felt the power of that statement. He needed to hold on to that thought. This was not just about raising money, it was about weaving a community together, about healing together. The room buzzed with energy, laughter mingling with determination. Yet, in that crowd of support, Mark sensed the weight of future challenges looming ahead. Would this renewed connection hold when the pressure came? Could they rise together despite the challenges of the road ahead? As the conversations flowed around him, Mark realized that honesty wasn't just a step forward, it was a promise to keep stepping, together, through whatever came next. With a newfound resolve, he glanced around the room, feeling ready to embrace the uncertainties ahead. But could that resolve last when the reality of setbacks hit? What challenges were waiting to test their unity? Days turned into weeks, and the community's energy began to swell. Mark watched in amazement as each brainstormed idea crystallized into reality. Flowers started blooming in that forgotten lot, lunches filled with laughter at potlucks, and the excitement of the upcoming festival vibrated around town. It was a tapestry of life woven together by the simplest human connections, and he felt more alive than ever before, but with the joy came the butterflies of worry fluttering in his stomach. The festival loomed closer, and Mark knew it was a litmus test, a way to measure what they had built against the shadows he still felt creeping around the edges of his heart. Would the community embrace him and his vision, or would doubt prevail? On the day of the festival, the town sparkled under a brilliant blue sky. Colorful stalls were packed with delicious food, handmade crafts, and the laughter of families echoed throughout the streets. Mark stood at the edge of the park, anxiety battling with exhilaration. He was a part of something bigger now, yet the fear of failure didn't leave quietly. As Thursday morphed into Saturday, Sarah's reassuring presence kept him grounded. "Look around, Mark. This is what we've created together," she said, her smile infectious. And as he looked around, he felt it, the warmth of belonging bloomed in his chest. "Are you ready?" Sarah asked, her eyes meeting his, sparkling with anticipation. "Ready as I'll ever be," he laughed nervously. He couldn't shake the lingering question, what if the day didn't go as planned? But in the spirit of togetherness, he pushed the shadows back. They hung banners, set up tables, and the aroma of food wafted through the air like an invitation. As the first guests arrived, excitement buzzed around them. Familiar faces flooded the park, bringing with them memories of all those days spent planning, laughing, and lifting one another in trust. People began to share their stories, and Mark felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude wash over him. Just as the event was at its peak, an unexpected whisper of tension stirred the air. A group of newcomers arrived, local business owners with questions, eyes narrowed with skepticism. Mark's heart sank. The worry of unfamiliar faces returning like a ghost. "Is this about charity?" One man challenged, arms crossed. "We want to ensure our funding goes where it's supposed to. We've heard a lot of promises made, but are these just sweet words?" As murmurs rippled through the crowd, Mark felt the weight of disappointment pressing on his shoulders. He took a deep breath, holding Sarah's gaze for support. "It's about more than charity, it's about connection. It's about believing in one another. If you give us a chance, you'll see the heart of this community." The crowd around him shifted, awaiting a response. Then, Sarah stepped forward, fueled by passion. "This festival is our testament. It's proof of what happens when we come together. Let us celebrate our collective hopes and talents." The tension began to dissolve, softer glances exchanged among neighbors as uncertainty transformed into camaraderie. Slowly smiling faces turned toward Mark and Sarah, support lifting like a tide. "That's how change happens," Mark continued, voice steady with newfound conviction. "Through trust, not just funding. We're in this together, step by step." And just like that, the crowd erupted in applause, the moment igniting a wave of promise. As the festivities rolled on, laughter and tears merged with joy. Mark saw people dancing, children racing through rings, and neighbors helping one another at booths. The connection he had yearned for blurred the lines of his past. The shadows faded into the background. Amidst the celebration, Mark noticed the old man watching from a distance, a proud smile lighting his face. Confidence surged through him, and he took a deep breath. Maybe he was ready to share more than just dreams. He was prepared to let go of the last vestiges of fear that clung to his journey. As the festival began to wind down, Mark gathered everyone together for one last moment. "This day has filled my heart. I can't express enough how thankful I am that you all took the risk to build something together. Each of you has shown me what generosity truly means. I want to nurture the connections we've formed, and I promise to continue being a part of this community." Cheers erupted into the twilight, hope igniting stars in the evening sky. Mark soaked in the sounds around him, vibrant and alive, knowing that this was just the beginning. Together, we've shown that trust can triumph. If we keep our hearts open, there's no limit to what we can accomplish. Let us keep building together. As the night enveloped them, Mark felt whole. All the fears that he had faced on this journey seemed insignificant now he was home. His heart swelled with gratitude. The past was a whisper behind him, and in its place, something new and beautiful had emerged. Through connection, through honesty, through vulnerability, they transformed not just a community, but themselves. And with that, Mark had finally embraced his place, understanding that his struggle led him straight to the very heart of what it meant to belong, and now it was time for you to energize this journey too. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help boost more stories like this one, Comment below your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second.